Hi, Henry. Welcome to Mind Over Matter, the mental health podcast. You're calling from America, I believe.
Indeed, I am. I'm calling from the city of Oaks, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
good. So yeah, I just wanted to ask your views on mental health, what it means for you, and if you have any story to share that people can relate to.
Well, it's interesting that you mention all of that because, uh, for one thing, when I started to go to university, I started out in the healthcare field. I had planned to start with geriatric healthcare, and I wound up working at the largest facility, one of the largest nursing home facilities on the Eastern Seaboard. And that was a wonderful thing. But at that time, something else was happening. And what that was that my own mom was going through what we at first diagnosed as a form of schizophrenia. It was accompanied by persecutory delusions, and particularly involving threats to her children, myself and my brother. And we actually lived an interesting life because it seemed as if whoever they were coming to get us. And so with many times we had to, just coming home late from a meeting, we literally had to go and check out the house, make sure no one was there. Um, if the newspaper came, we had to make sure that she didn't see it, or else she would derive some sort of message from it, some sort of impending doom, that sort of thing. If you ever saw A Beautiful Mind, that came out some years ago, there's the car chase scene that took place, and that was very much something that she kind of espoused. It's a type of delusion. New York City is a very busy place, and it's not uncommon for cars to back out of driveways unexpectedly, and she would literally interpret that as them, whoever they were, CIA or what have you, trying to block the progress of my dad as they drove home, things like that. And so that was a challenge. And I wound up ultimately um, leaving school and taking care of her. She was, the sadness is that, as it turns out, it was early onset dementia. And so it was a very big, big moment for both my brother and I. Unbeknownst to us, dear old dad himself was dealing with severe depression, which man manifested in a lot of lashing out at us and things like that. So for us, it I guess for me, I would say, gave me certain empathy for people, and the more I understood, I went on to, even now, I work with individuals who, as a health and life coach, I work with individuals who are dealing with mild forms of depression, who can use my help. I have some NLP techniques that I use, and even with younger kids, I try to do things to help. Give me a second. I'm sorry, ma'am. Ma'am, are you okay? What's going on? Well, we have a moment right there. One thing I hate is to see young women cry. I hate to see women cry. I guess that
Yes.
goes back to mom, and she just came from the direction of one of the restaurants going across, and she was just bawling just now. She just got in her car. I hope she's okay. Oftentimes that might signal a breakup of some sort when they, you know.
So, what was the cause for her diagnosis then? Like,
That's a very interesting question because looking back, okay, there in America we have a perfect storm of high stress situations, employment in many cases. Also, we're talking about the 70s and even the early 80s, and what was not known as it's really known now is that the highly palliative foods also contribute to that.
yeah,
Then on top of that, you couple that with working a shift where your sleep is constantly broken up because 2 weeks you're working days, the 2 weeks you're working nights, 2 weeks and you never have an actual your circadian rhythm is shot. All of that is given to will cause that you have sleep deprivation. You're trying to take care of a family, but so that prompted me in my own practice of helping individuals is to not just look at what is going on in their life as to viewpoint and why, uh, but also what is the life like. I deal with type 2 diabetes, which strangely enough many individuals deal with that illness coupled with depression of some sort. So what I try to do is look at individuals from that standpoint. It's so vital that we reassess the lives that we live, because in many ways we are in the post-industrial age, and yet there is a great industrial mindset that affects human beings and churns people out like machines, or churns people through with machines, if you will. And that affects your mind, that affects your heart. We're now inundated with media that is given to ultra violence, even in our children. And right now I'm dealing with young ones who are dealing with everything from bipolar disorder to social anxiety disorder, and simply because of the environments in which they live and the foods that they are allowed to eat.
and what are your ways in coaching them, in helping them? Do you have any methods?
Yeah, well, the first thing that many individuals need to do, and with kids, some kids it can be pretty hard to do. Okay, when you have children, it sounds like you do. They're bouncing off the walls back
Yes.
there. But I adopted some things from NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and I also adopted, strangely enough, something that my mom taught me at a very early age, which was basically to first sit still. And once I get someone to sit still, then I take them through the breathing to focus on their breath. And then as they begin to focus on their breath, I get them to the state of observing their thoughts and understanding that they are not their thoughts, understanding that they can control what they think. Now, in the meantime, the next thing we're doing is we're looking at what foods are they eating? How much of that? How much? What is your refrigerator? Is your freezer full of Tostinos and hot pockets and all that stuff? Are you? What's your breakfast like? What's your dinner like? Are you taking time to? Are your connections positive, healthy connections? Um, and I don't deal with a lot of severe cases because that would require a psychiatry. I'm not a doctor, but the individuals that I work with are individuals who are willing, they see the need to change and they have a desire to change. Many times many times I have to help them to understand that, um, your children you may want your child to change, but you have to be there to help your child change. You cannot command your child to change. You cannot command your child to just sit there and listen to you. It has to be a group thing, and it has to be enjoyable, because we operate with two things. We operate either we move toward pleasure or we move away from pain. But if you promise pain, so to speak, what happens is they move away from you. So the idea is to have an enjoyment. But most importantly, we take them through that process of really sitting there and thinking deeply, getting in touch with themselves. Sometimes we'll take them out in nature and get them involved in connecting with the ambient or the ambience of their surroundings. And
Yeah.
when they're able to breathe, that makes them, they get very present, and they can talk, and we can share and understand this, that perhaps how we're feeling, we can choose, and we can set an intention to do better. When the thoughts start to come up, we have power to question them. It was Viktor Frankl that said between the stimulus and response is a space. And in that space is our power to choose. And that's what I help individuals to learn to do.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But it's easier said than done, isn't it, to change
Absolutely.
your thoughts, isn't it?
No, it is. It is. It's never an easy thing. And that's why the support is so important. If you have if you have a loved one that can help you gently with love challenge your beliefs. All right,
Yeah.
and I'm not, okay. That is so important. But it's I remember one of the sadder moments in our lives. My dad confronting my mom with her beliefs and kind of mocking her and making fun of her. That doesn't work, because you're going to dig further in. But when you sit down and you let them get present and let them think about things, then bring them to the point where they are challenging. Well, I don't know how this happens. I think it does.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you think it does, but you don't know how. Is it possible? Is anything possible? Or if any is possible, is it possible that maybe there are other things happening that we can work, as opposed to the 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 um, the secret organization that's coming, you know? Or the other thing is, again, helping them to have the right amount of sleep, helping them to have the right amount of organic foods and things that can regulate their bodies. Um, you know, you have medication that you're prescribed. I've seen. I think another thing that always hurts me very terribly is remembering the tardive dyskinesia that took place as a result of buildup of the medicine within my mom, and it hurt me terribly to see her that way, to see those involuntary movements of the face and of the hands, especially when it just seemed to go out of control. And now her face was you might call it a boiling pot of oatmeal of involuntary movements, and that sort of thing is very challenging. So,
So so
you know, I think
do you agree with medication then, or do you think natural methods help?
there has to be a certain combination, but let's be honest, okay, and say that with medications, there are no such thing as side effects. Those are effects. All right. in many cases, we have to understand that we're living in a world where that values expediency over actual treatment and healing. We're living in a world that values profits over people. And so when you give a person a drug and say, this will help your problem, I'm not saying that it won't. I'm not saying that it doesn't. And I do say, again, I'm not a doctor. However, we do know this, that many times they go on the medication, it might help the symptom, but it has so many side effects that the patients themselves stop. And it's a vicious cycle.
And it can get very addictive, taking medication, can't it?
Well, see, there are two things there. It can get very addictive on the one hand. On the other hand, you have situations where the medications are stopped and then the symptoms now slingshot back. And that's when you have a person go into this severe state of mania,
Yes.
severe state of psychosis. The sad thing again with the relationship with my parents, here I am. I'm just a kid. I don't know anything, but I began to see a pattern. My dad would say, "Oh, I think I'm going to stop your mom's medication for a while. She'll be all right." And lo and behold, somewhere down maybe a few days or a few weeks, all of a sudden she gets slammed with the delusion.
Yeah.
And she's back in the hospital. So again, it can be addictive on one hand, and then on the other hand, there's the other challenge of it coming to and the taking away of it will wind up in a situation whereby boom, it just slingshots back, avalanches back. So you have, say for instance, pain medication, are terribly addictive. You've heard of the big scandal over here with the Purdue and Johnson & Johnson and a few other companies. Strangely enough, the many lives that they've ruined and taken individuals, no one's going to jail over it. No one's going to jail over it. And they're keeping pretty much all their profits. One of the big challenges that happens here, but it's a sadness. It is indeed a sadness. What I do is, like I said, I take individuals who are having the mildest symptoms, the mildest challenge, people who are functioning, people who you would know, but they know that they need to make a change in their lives. My motto is, we all are in a state of becoming. The challenge is to be intentional about our outcome. And so I work with individuals who have that desire for a positive outcome and are willing to put the work in, to have the commitment. I developed what's called the CRUSH method, which is to conceive and commit. And conceiving and committing is actually, again, with lots of visualization, lots of pre-living your outcome and committing to that personal vision. And that's something we take time with you on, and we work with you on. And we want you to become emotionally committed, emotionally involved, engaged in your desired outcome. And then we refine and we work. We take out the drawing board, so to speak, and we present a plan, and we work with that plan. We look at some of the possibilities that may come up that might be the challenges, either personal blockages or just things that might come up. And then we begin the undertaking of the task in order to get things done. And my support comes in sustaining that work so that they can keep things going. And then we finally habituate everything that we've learned so that we're reliving the process, we're recreating that vision, and we help individuals to become that better version of themselves that they themselves see is possible.
That's really good. And what would you say? You're so. Would you say that you're like a certified coach, or
You're
would you
breaking up,
label
Lo.
it?
You're breaking up, Lo. How would I say what now?
How would you label your position? So would you say you're a certified emotional coach?
Well, I'm a certified health and life coach. That's what I do. I actually do specialize in type 2 diabetes remission, and I also work with personal outcome goals. So individuals who are trying to get to a better state, get to a better place. And many of my people come to me and they just, okay, we're about to retire. I don't know what I want to do with my life. Or they're like, okay, I'm going to school because mommy and daddy made me. I have no idea why I'm going, what I really want to do, what I want to enjoy. Okay. Or where can I go? Or how can I talk to my parents about what I really want to do? So we work with individuals on those different levels.
That's interesting. So you've seen results, like people changing their lives?
Well, absolutely. So, say for instance, an absolutely beautiful young lady, who's up in Maryland, and her name, we'll call her Angie. And Angie's, basic challenge was trying to get herself to sleep. And we examined some of her beliefs, so to speak. And one of those things was she was very, very spiritual focused. She attended a church. She was very active. And so we were able to use her biblical understandings to set precedents and and give her the action steps to create the space for sleep. But also we went further. We actually got her into a very small regimen of activity of exercise so that she can actually build a muscle to metabolize, and that also puts her in a state of sleep. She have her do that in the morning. That carries her throughout the day. She's able to pick up the kids and work because she was a nanny and do all this stuff, and she's able to finally get the rest that she needs at night, doing the rituals, having the little signs around that remind her why she's doing it, what's important about it. My friend out named Chris on the West Coast, his challenges were pretty much dealing with weight loss in his case. And in his situation, not only was it weight loss, but there was a certain lack of confidence when it came to public speaking. And one of the things that we did, of course, we took him through the process of losing the weight, but we needed to work with the mindset to go into a confident state. So what we did a bit of an anchoring with him. It was really interesting because I asked him to pick a hero that he really loved, a hero of mythic proportions. I figured he'd pick, Superman or one of the Marvel characters, something, but he reached back. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Paul Bunyan. Have you heard the legend of Paul?
No.
So in American mythology, you have these different interesting legends, folklore legends. And Paul Bunyan was this gigantic lumberjack. He was so big that he had a pet named Babe. Babe was an ox that was blue. Okay, and Paul Bunyan was this incredibly confident, powerful person that traversed the area and cut down trees with a swipe of his axe. And so I thought that was interesting. But I had him go into a state of visualization of stepping into the shoes of Paul Bunyan. And as he began to step into the shoes of Paul Bunyan, and he saw himself standing there before the crowd as if they were a field of pines that he towered above. And with a mere whisper or a mere, or mere thought, his voice, they were going to lay flat. And so then as he began to visualize that, you can see him going into the state. And as he began to do that, then we had to have him, trigger that or anchor that by slapping his forearm. And we would say the word Paul Bunyan time. And so we did that with him several times. And what was interesting at that point was that what was interesting was that he actually would now, whenever he has a part, or even when he's lacking a certain level of confidence in dealing with maybe meetings and things like that, he would actually slap his forearm, Paul Bunyan time, and go into state on his own. And he's really thrilled with that. Plus, he lost 25 pounds. His ex-wife was commenting how good he looked. By which but of course by then it was like a little late now. But he was real thrilled with his outcome.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah,
so do you have like a website that we can look at what you do?
Well, my website is right now under construction. I had one which was Chrysalis Transformational Coaching Service.com, but I moved away from that, and I'm constructing another one. If you're interested in learning a bit about my work with type 2 diabetes, I have a little ebook that you can contact me with. If you go to coachhenry.com, I can check and make sure. I want to make sure I give you the right one. I don't want to send you to
so I want to put, because when I upload this video, I want to put the link there.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I want. So let's see. So yeah, you can go to henrygaskinscoach.com/ebook.
Okay.
All right. And the other thing that you can do is you can reach me at 434-218-4198. You can call that number through WhatsApp if you're out of the country, and or text me, and we can set up a time to talk. And I'm pretty much available for that. And of course, there's my Facebook page. You can come to my Facebook page with this Henry Gaskins Crush Your Mountain. If you come to Henry Gaskins Crush Your Mountain and join my group, it's a public group. I do a weekly podcast there, which I hope to have you on.
I'm going to join your podcast.
We need more beautiful Greek Cypriots on our station. We had yesterday. I go live every Tuesday at 5:00. We just had an amazing conversation with Dr. Shelley Hipsky. She's internationally known. She helps women and girls around the world. She has a program in Tanzania where she helps women to develop their own businesses, and she's also brought water to the village. She's doing amazing work. She has a brand new book out with another lady entitled Mom Magic, Mompreneur, and she talks about what it means to be a mompreneur, what it means to set an example for young girls around the planet to know what can be done and know what they can do, and not to allow themselves to be sucked into the unfortunate negative patriarchy that we have around the world, but to actually build a wonderful partnership that can help elevate everyone. Well, she's doing that. We had a great conversation yesterday. I have several different other individuals who are amazing people on there. And in fact, I've actually expanded to Apple and Spotify with some of my earlier recordings of Crush Your Mountain. You can also go to my YouTube channel, Henry Gaskins. Crush Your Mountain. Crush is an acronym, but so if you look that up, you'll find me there, and you'll see all my earlier posts as well as the weekly podcast that it has evolved into.
Okay, cool. I will definitely look into it, and I'm going to join your next podcast.
Be lovely to have you. Next week we have Gretchen Lindner. We're going to talk a lot about reversing type 2 diabetes, why it is possible, what you're not told by the pharmaceutical medical industry. And I will tell you right away, I was diagnosed as T2D. The doctors told me what they tell everybody. They tell you that it's hereditary. There's nothing you can do about it, but we can manage it with insulin, and all you need to do is lose weight. Well, I did not take insulin. I went ahead. I changed my exercise routine. I changed my diet, my intermittent fast. I went into a form of intermittent fasting and food restriction eating. But that does not stop me from enjoying good food. Like I'm gonna go over here to Zanyu Asian noodles and have a nice big bowl of Asian soup. It's gonna be delicious. That I went to the doctor, he was blown away. I lost myself. I lost about 20 pounds. And the doctor says to me, I guess we'll just have to chalk this up to some sort of blip in your system because your numbers are not consistent with someone with type 2 diabetes. Well, yeah, because I went from a glucose level of over 300 to less than 93. So, it is possible. And so we're going to talk a little bit about my journey and her journey in terms of autonomic diseases. And so I really look forward to that. Then I think we have a mutual friend of ours, Rachel Farnsworth, is going to be on there, and a couple of weeks after that. So we got a lot of excellent people that are going to bring a lot of value. And my hope is to, just encourage people to understand that they have power to make a change. And
yes.
That's so important that we understand that we are not helpless beings. So I just wanted to run that by. I'm really happy that we hooked up. There's anytime I can chat with someone with a British accent, I am just over the moon about it.
Well, thank you very much for participating. And it's been lovely to meet you, and we'd love to hear your story.
Well, I'm happy to share my story. I've got a lot of things to share, and I know that there are others like me who experience things where they haven't had the opportunity to really see a way of making the breakthrough, but they want to make the breakthrough. I know for myself, I've made my breakthrough, and I know that I'm moving forward with everything that I've been blessed to experience. And I want to help individuals to understand that indeed life happens for them, not to them. If they can move, if they are willing to move and take the steps to go through the chrysalis, break through the shell, and not just climb their mountain, but crush through.
Yes, that's what we want to hear. Well, thank you very much. I'm just recording.
Good deal.